Hello everybody. Today in this video I'm going to be giving out some tips and do a little coverage on how to pirate. Pirating in Dual Universe is very prevalent and is a good way to get PvP in the current version of the game. There's multiple organizations who are completely dedicated to pirating. One notorious one is CVA Alliance, which is a notorious pirate alliance that claims to have killed over 300 ships in Dual Universe and gotten over 2 billion in loot. In the later half of this video, I'm going to give a live demonstration on how to pirate using the warp scouting technique and how to kill your target. I'll show how I personally scout, do the warp trick, kill them, loot them, and bring them back to base. In Dual Universe, there's currently 3 really main ways to camp. So there is something called trade route camping, which is where you just go sit in a trade route, commonly referred to as a pipe. Usually it'll be between 2 planets, basically just a straight line between 2 planets. So from Alioth to, say, Jago. You sit in between those pipes, and that's where the vast majority of people who are slow boating are going to go because they just set the destination and fly there. It's the most dangerous way of piloting, by the way, so I wouldn't recommend it if you're trying to get through. There's also planet camping, and this is something typically done by the largest alliances in the game. So, for example, the Alliance, the Ascendancy, has done multiple blockades of planets. And when doing a blockade of a planet, you typically use a big fleet and you have multiple ships and multiple exits of the planets with the goal of preventing people from leaving. If you do it right, besides warping, there's no real way to get out. The third, and probably my most recommended way of pirating, is actually a technique called warp scouting. So in Dual Universe, when you warp between planets, your ship physically flies between those planets, and occasionally, depending on the server ticks, you will see ships on your radar while warping between planets. So you would use a small warp scout and load it up with warp cells. Maybe you can use a Lewis script or something to record the location, and you warp between planets, and sometimes you'll pick up the people who are actually slow boating through these trade routes. Now, a lot of Russians do this. My org has done it a lot. It's a really effective way of checking the pipes, essentially, and seeing if there's anybody there. Once you have found somebody in the pipe, you may then warp to them and log off. Currently, in the current patch, when you log off during warp, when you log back in, your ship was where you logged off, and it'll be going at max speed towards the planet. So you're already in line with the other ships. Once you're in line like that, you just slow down, you log off and warp to them in your PvP ship, warp in front of them, log off, log back in, slow down, and let them catch up to you, and then you can kill them in the middle of the pipe. This is how a lot of pirates pirate and get most of their content. So now that you know you've decided how you want to pirate, you've probably most likely chosen the warp scouting technique because it's one of the best. And now how do you build a ship for PvP? Really, when you come down to it in the current patch, it's not too difficult. My current recommendation is you want to use a large core, and the reason for that is the rails are amazing range, and especially when you're at high speeds trying to intercept a hauler, you really need to have that extra range so you're more forgiving when trying to kill them. You want to be able to kill them in range. Usually when you're building a ship, you want it to be really fast, probably at least 12 to 15 Gs. You want to be able to carry extra dynamic cores so that you can capture a ship once you kill it. And you want to carry enough ammo to core most haulers, probably about 5 containers worth, large containers. One of the side effects of using a ship like this, we call them hauler hunters, is they're very lightly armored and do not do well in a fight. So if you run this type of ship, if you run into somebody in the pipe who has weapons on them, you're probably going to be in trouble by yourself and you just disengage. Maybe when you're picking your targets, because you get to pick your targets like this, I wouldn't go for any other L cores, because then the L cores are more likely to be able to hold out or maybe even be bait. A lot of anti-piracy alliances and orgs, they'll run L core ships and they'll pretend to be a hauler and fly between planets to try to bait out pirates. And this is one of the techniques you gotta kind of watch out for. I would also be wary of attacking certainly tagged ships. For example, a lot of the larger alliances, because of the warp trick, where you can log off and teleport basically in between pipes, will have a lot of their PvP pilots just kind of chilling and waiting in their PvP ships, and once one of their ships get attacked, they can immediately warp there and get to within to assist their friendly hauler within just a few minutes. So going after the Ascendancy, for example, might cause you some issues unless you want to fight. Alright, so some of the basics out of the way. Let's get right into a live demonstration of a pirating session I did here. So the first thing you want to do when using the warp scouting tactic to pirate is you want to warp scout. So for today, I'm just going to be warp scouting Talamai, which is a pretty close planet, very cheap in warp cells. It doesn't get a ton of traffic, but you'll find somebody occasionally. So there's a couple of things that make this really important. So to make it easier, you want to have a Lua script for when you're scouting that'll print the location of radar contacts once you run into them when you're in warp. So this is what I'm running here. As you can see, this script will copy a location and place it in your Lua channel in game, so you can have the coordinates of where they are when you warp. So as you can see, I was warp scouting Talamai, and I ran into this assault bike, an extra small. The coordinates should have been posted into my Lua chat. So once you have a target, you're actually still not finished. The next thing you have to do is you want to scout it twice and get 2 locations. It's because you need to know where the ship is going. So you want to know if the ship's going to Talamai from Alioth or from Alioth to Talamai in this example. So I'm going to go ahead and do another warp scout in a second. And there you can see in the Lua channel in game where it's posting the coordinates. So you can just right click those and set destination, and you can know where they currently are in the pipe. So now this is my second warp attempt, scout attempt. It actually takes a couple of times. Sometimes when you're warping, a ship won't show up on radar. So when I was looking for this target for the second time, I had to do 8 warp scouts total in order to get the 2 scans of it. It burns quite a bit of warp cells, but if you have a dedicated ship like this one, you typically only spend about 6 warp cells each way, which isn't very much. So now that I have the second location, I need to determine which direction it's going. So when I get there, I'm going to lock onto the first or the second, and then walk onto the second location. And then by doing that, I'll be able to see which direction it's moving.
Warp sequence completed.
So as you can see right now, it's 137 SU. And then now it's 117 SU in the second location. So that means the ship that I'm trying to kill, the Salt Bike, is going from Alioth to Talamai. Now that I know the location, I can warp back to my space station, and then I can go reship into my pirating ship. The ship I'm using today was a ship made by an Atom member called Voracious. He's a member of Atom, which is a PvP org in the game. His ship is really pretty, I think. It's like a really good design. It's a little bit on the slow side, but it's built to kind of tank a few hits. The real selling point, though, as you can see, is it has 4 railguns, and those are exotic railguns. So with exotic heavy railguns, you can reach out to 2 SU and just do incredible amounts of damage. Exotics are not necessary, just basic precision, advanced precision is all you really need for a budget pirating ship. You can reach up to like 1.4 SU, 1.5 with decent skills pretty easily. With the exotics, they do get more range and more damage, and I think he sells them on the open market if you're interested in that. So if you do want to buy some exotics to really pimp your ride, you can definitely go ahead and do that. But it's not necessary. So this is the second script that you kind of really want to have to help out when you're pirating by yourself. When you're by yourself in default Untitled Universe, you can't pilot and gun at the same time, so you need a Lua script to do that. The way it works is you get in the gunner seat and then use a remote controller while you're in the gunner seat to remotely control your ship. So this UI you're seeing that's allowing me to see the guns and the percentage and the health in the top left. This is all a script that we have in the Ascendancy for use by our PvP pilots. Now that I'm in the ship and the ship's ready to go, I'm looking for the location. I'm going to set that as my destination and set my warp destination separately. That way I can kind of get an idea of how far I need to warp, when in warp I need to log off.
Warp sequence initiated.
So now we're coming up on the ship. So you can see it's about 80 SU. I want to stop about 20 to 30 SU, depending on how long it takes you to relog while you're working. Alright, so I skipped ahead a little bit. My computer loads slow. So depending on your computer's load speed, you want to stop either farther ahead or less far ahead so you give time to get going. But as you can see, when you log in and get into the ship, you'll notice that your ship is still moving at 28,500 kilometers an hour. It's right around max, which is 30,000. So because of this, you need to slow down to give the ship that you're trying to kill, time to catch up to you. Because you're currently in front of the ship, so you're not accelerating to catch them, you're decelerating so they catch up to you. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to when they catch me. This is about 5 minutes later. I've been going at 10,000 kilometers per hour for about 10 minutes now. And there's the salt bike on radar. The first thing you want to do whenever you get a target is you want to get a shot off on it right away. This is so that they don't warp away. Because usually people kind of don't pay attention enough when they're slow boating between pipes. A lot of people do it on ults and such. So you want to accelerate up to speed. Your goal is to get up to 30,000 while going in the same direction as them. And you also want to get a lock and a shot on them right away. So now that I have it locked, it's an extra small, so it'll take a while. I'm going to go ahead and shoot at it.
Target selected.
Once you've selected it, you just choose on the gun, use the gunner interface to shoot it. And InQ does have some tutorials on how to use the gunner seat, I believe. Now that I've shot it, it can't warp away. It's 300 seconds, around 5 minutes, so you have plenty of time to make your maneuvers. So normally, once they hear they'll lock on, because it'll notify them when you lock them and also when you shoot at them. So now that they know you're there, you kind of want to keep a good eye on them and make sure they're not trying to burn away. There's a few techniques people try to use to get away, but usually at this point, they're kind of already lost. So now I'm trying to get up to speed. The biggest danger here is that because it's still going 30,000 kilometers an hour, the max speed, it'll just shoot on by me. And so you want to get as close, be within range that you can maneuver it. So I think this person would be an example of somebody who's AFK who never maneuvered, so it wasn't as big of a deal, but you want to get up as close to 30,000 as fast as possible. Typically, once you fired your first shot, you just want to turn around and accelerate until you get to max speed. So I'm still accelerating, and we're just kind of going to wait for them to pass me, and then I'll be able to shoot at them. So here is actually kind of where I made a mistake in this video. I actually kind of timed it a little too perfectly, so I ended up getting close to their speed within 4 or 5 kilometers. That's really too close. Like, I was in danger of actually running into their ship, or they were in danger of running into me. Usually you won't be this close. That just means that he left from a similar direction as me from Alioth, so usually it won't be this close, but yeah. Because of that, it's going to take me an extra minute or two to actually kill them, because it's hard to get probs with railguns when you're that close to your target. You really want to be farther. So I think eventually here I slow down so that it can actually start passing me. The reason you want to be behind them is because it's easier to maneuver and go left to right, or as they start turning and try to do different things. So now that I'm kind of behind them and I'm still too close, I start shooting at them. I'm using the gunner script here so you can kind of see where it is. The little white bar that's going up and down, that's the hit probability chance. And this script that I'm using for the pirating that lets you to fly and gun at the same time, it shows my probs in the top left hand corner of the screen, which is really convenient for this kind of thing. Now that he's starting to get a little bit in front of me, it's going to be a little bit easier for me to line up the shots. The big thing is you really just want to stay in range. Don't focus so much on the shots as it is staying in range. So this ship is an extra small, so a single hit should kill it. So there you just saw, I actually just got, it only takes one hit with an exotic railgun, large railgun, to kill an extra small. So it is now dead. It only took one hit. I had about 15% probs, and it doesn't take long to get those hits. Once you've actually cored it and it'll go gray like that, the ship will stop. Without anybody on the ship will go to 0 speed. So you really want to hit your brakes and burn and turn and burn. Hit your brakes and accelerating in the opposite direction to slow you down. After that, you want to get to the looting. Like, congrats on your kill. So what you're going to want to do is, once you come to a complete stop, fly over to your target and get within really close. You want to be about 50 meters of it. And this is because there's a special technique you have to use when looting a ship in PvP during this current patch. As it is right now, if you jump on a ship that was cored, the speed will resume. And if it starts resuming, you won't be able to get back on it. So what you do is you go up to it, you get on top of your ship, and you maneuver tool it, and you maneuver it on top of your ship. That makes it so it loses its speed, and then you can replace the core. So I have an extra small core here, and I'll use that to replace the ship. But I'll let you watch as I go over to it. Don't forget to reload your weapons as well. You never know out in PvP space when somebody else might come gank you. So now you can see as we're pulling up onto the ship, it's been cored, it's not moving. We got to go really slow. Make sure you don't slam into a ship. I've done it before, it'll blow up. You got to be very careful when running into ships. There's no desync, it's not moving, so it should be fine. You want to get really close enough that you're within your maneuver tool range. If you don't have the skill in the maneuver tool range, you want to get pretty close. Basically just have it sitting up on your ship. Can be a little finicky, but just take your time. You've already killed it. There's probably no rush, really. So now that I'm close enough, the ship's basically on top of me. I'm going to hop off. I'm going to set my link container, which I keep my collection of cores, and make sure that my emergency controller is on so my ship stops moving. I'm heading out here. You want to make sure you keep your doors closed in case of PvP you get shot at. You don't want to get a lucky shot that goes in all the way to your pilot's quarters. It's really important that you remember the maneuver tool thing. We've had multiple times where a ship will get away from us because you'll hop on it right now and it'll fly away. Once you've maneuver tooled it and put it on your ship, you're fine to replace the core. So this is just a little warp shuttle, so it's probably just somebody who was flying back and forth. It can be a little finicky to get ships to dock. But once you've got it docked, what you want to do is replace your core. So you use the repair tool with the link container, and you alt left mouse button to click on the core, and it replaces it. Now that it's claimed and it is mine, I can go ahead and make sure it's docked to the ship, and then I can warp it back to my base. Always remember to close your doors. But yeah, now that I've got the ship, you can loot it back. It's yours. You can warp it back to I'm going to warp it back to my space station here, and you just loot the ship. It's pretty much all you need. I hope you guys enjoyed the video on how to pirate. I know it's a bit long, but I wanted to include a live demonstration with my thoughts on how to do it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment on the YouTube video, or you can reach out to me on Discord. I'm Mulligan. And yeah, have a nice day. And good luck on all your pirating adventures.